What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you guys watched the last video, you saw that we got the motor into the EP3. It is just bolted up on these two motor mounts. Nothing else has been done yet, so that's what we're going to be starting on today, is seeing if we can figure or finish getting everything on and hopefully getting this thing ready to go out of the garage and running on its own power instead of just sitting here like a paperweight like it's been doing for a few months now. So I'm gonna go ahead and set you guys up and you can watch us try to finish this thing up. Alright, so first things first is I want to get the wiring harness back onto this motor and everything plugged back in, and to do that I'm going to have to take all of these coil packs off of this motor. I believe that motor does have spark plugs in it, but I gotta put the coil packs in so that way I can put the wiring harness back up top and then route it to where it needs to go. So that's basically the first plan of action while he is down there getting the bottom back together so we can get the subframe back on and see how it goes. Alright guys, so I actually messed up a little bit, nothing too major, but I accidentally put the front part of the intake manifold on before getting the power wire for the alternator and starter. It's probably doable with the intake manifold on, but inside the car it's definitely a little more challenging, so I just went ahead and pulled it off. And I'm gonna go ahead and get those plugged in real quick. I already have most of the wiring harness back on. There's a few sensors that I think are on this motor that, or sorry, on this wiring harness that don't need to be, because this motor is different than that motor because they are from different cars, and that one's a little newer of a motor than this is. So I'm sure there's a few sensors that aren't going to match up just because, you know, they're on one motor but not on the other. And obviously this whole wiring harness is for that other motor, so I'm sure it's tweaked a little bit. You can tell there's like this wire that's definitely been tapped into just to make it work for the other motor. So I'm sure we're going to find quite a bit of that along the way, but so far so good. I have the charge harness back up into the fuse box. I'll show you guys right here. Got these two back where they go, which then goes to the battery. And then those are the ones, this is the wiring harness that has the wires for the alternator and the starter that I got to get hooked up right now. So once we get those things hooked back up, we can go ahead and put the intake manifold on for good and get all that bolted up and the throttle body on, the intake back on. So far so good guys. Getting a decent chunk already out of the way. Alright guys, and just like that, we have this wire back on the starter and then this one back on the alternator, as well as the plug plugged in right here, the one down here, and then there's one behind here hiding. Now that that's done, we can go ahead and put this back on. And there's, like I was saying in the last clip, there's these extra little plugs that I don't even know where they go. But I'm sure they're just extra, just because, like I said, the two motors are different, so they might not be used, but we'll figure that out when we get to that. So let's keep getting down on this thing so we can try and get this finished in today's video. I'm not sure where that last clip ended, but here's how the engine bay is looking. She's definitely not pretty. She's definitely not going to win any show car awards, but luckily that's not what we're going for. Since that last clip, I got all of this pretty much put together. All that's pretty much left is the battery and then the intake, and we have to figure out where a few more hoses go and then get these throttle cables on. It's a mounting bracket that I don't think it fits correctly, so we're going to have to modify that. But I'm going to call it a night. The next clip is going to be tomorrow, and we're going to be finishing up the bottom end. That way we can lower the car down, and then I will get some fluids in there and she'll be done. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Just like that guys, it is the next day and we are back out here trying to get this thing all done. I'm trying to give myself like 2 hours to get this done, so that's fingers crossed. Hopefully we can get it done. One thing I noticed just now and forgot to tell you guys yesterday is that if you look at this throttle body, you can see that where the throttle cables connect are on this side. And then if we go look on this one, you can see it's the complete opposite side. meaning this bracket right here is not gonna work because obviously it can only either mount like this way, which it will hit all the stuff down there, or it mounts this way, which isn't even gonna work. So I'm pretty sure first things first, I'm gonna have to swap throttle bodies from that motor to this one. And then after that, I can get the intake on, get these hoses plugged into it, and then I'm pretty sure up here is done and I can begin working underneath. So that's what we're gonna do first, is go ahead and get those throttle bodies swapped. So I will see you guys in a little bit. Alright guys, so we have both of them laying out right here, and as you can see, this is what I was talking about, is one's on this side and one's on this side when they're both facing the same way. So this one is also a little bigger, as you guys can tell. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but this one definitely has a bigger radius of that where actual intake goes on, but shouldn't be a problem because this is the one that was on the car, so I don't see why it would cause any problems. But gonna go ahead and throw this one on and then get the intake on, and then I think everything up top will be completely buttoned up. So get that done real quick, and then we can begin working on the bottom, getting the axles in and subframe back on, wheels, exhaust, and then this car should be ready to go once I put some fluid in it. So let's keep going guys, we're doing good. Alright guys, so we actually have a rather unfortunate problem that I just came across. If you guys look, the throttle body does not go on to that little stud right there. It doesn't go over far enough because it's hitting this radiator hose right here and not allowing it to go any further. So I think the only way this is gonna work is if we find, you can see that this goes on perfectly, which is probably why they have them on this side when running this intake manifold. It makes sense now, but we're gonna have to find the bracket that actually works for this style throttle body, because obviously that's not in line, because it should sit something like this, kinda like that, so that way you can clamp the throttle cables down so they're just held in place. So I don't know what that means. Obviously the car's not gonna be able to run and drive if we don't have these hooked up, so I'm gonna try and see if we have a bracket laying around. If not, I'm gonna have to do some reaching out to people on Facebook and on, social media, and seeing if we can figure our problem out. So kind of puts a fork in the road as far as getting this car done today, but we can still get everything, bolted up down low, and then be able to let this car down, because obviously there's still quite a bit of work to do down there, as I've showed you guys plenty of times. So guess we're gonna put a halt on putting the top together, and we'll begin working on the bottom of the car. Alright guys, now that we're under the car, I didn't even realize, but my brother went ahead and put the axles in already on both sides. So all we have left really is the exhaust, which has to go in with the subframe because the sway bar kind of wraps around it. So I have to do those as one, and then put the O2 sensors back in, which are hanging right here, and I think that's it for underneath, and the wheels can go back on. Not really much to it, to be honest. I thought there was going to be more, but this car's super simple. Now, since the axles are already in, which is basically the hardest part in my opinion, because they kind of take some persuasion sometimes to get them in the transmission and this intermediate shaft, but since that's already done, we're going to go ahead and put the exhaust up with the subframe, and then under here should be good. Alright guys, I'm not sure what the last clip was because it has been a few days since then, but I think this thing is fully ready to start up besides throwing a battery in and filling up some oil. I won't be able to drive it because, as I mentioned, I'm still waiting for this little bracket. And I do have to get some transmission fluid and some coolant, but once it has oil in it and a battery, there's no reason why we can't start this thing and see if it has any codes or any obvious issues. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw some oil in real quick that I just went and picked up. And yeah, we'll see if this thing fires up for you guys. Not sure if you can tell, but I am definitely ready to get rid of this car and get the next one in here because this has been a pain. And yeah, I'm just ready to see this thing go. So stay tuned guys, see if we can get this thing fired up. Alrighty guys, well there you have it. The EP3 did make its first start on the new motor. As I mentioned, I will be going to get coolant and transmission fluid tomorrow, as well as hopefully the right throttle body. That way we can get these throttle cables hooked up, so that way we can take it on a drive. Other than that, that's gonna do it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.